Sarah Mitchell thought she had the perfect marriage until she discovered her husband's affair with her best friend. But when she decided to expose the truth, she uncovered something far worse: a web of lies, financial betrayal, and family manipulation that went deeper than she ever imagined. Armed with evidence and a plan for justice, Sarah transforms from a betrayed wife into a woman who refuses to be silently destroyed. This is the story of how one woman's quest for truth revealed the entitled corruption of those closest to her, and how she fought back to reclaim her life and dignity. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I used to believe that trust was the foundation of any good marriage. That belief shattered on a Tuesday morning in October when I found my husband's phone buzzing on our kitchen counter. The October rain was drumming against our suburban Denver windows as I prepared coffee for two, just like I had every morning, for the past 4 years. Michael had already left for his morning jog, or so I thought. His iPhone kept lighting up with notifications, and something about the insistence of those pings made my stomach twist with an inexplicable dread. I shouldn't have looked. That's what I kept telling myself as my fingers hovered over his phone. But when I saw the name Emma flashing across the screen, my world tilted on its axis. Emma. My best friend since college. The woman who'd been my maid of honor. Who came to our house for dinner every Sunday. Who I'd trusted with every secret I'd ever had. The message preview was enough to make my coffee mug slip from my trembling fingers, shattering against our pristine marble floor. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Michael, you drive me crazy. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely unlock his phone using the passcode I'd watched him type 1,000 times. What I found in their text thread made me physically sick. Months of messages, detailed descriptions of their encounters, plans to meet at hotels, jokes about how clueless Sarah was, how easy it was to fool me. But the worst part? The message from just 3 days ago. She's starting to suspect something. Maybe we should cool it down. Michael's response: "Don't worry, babe. She's too trusting, too stupid to figure it out. Besides, once the divorce goes through, you'll get half of everything anyway, just like we planned." I sank onto our kitchen floor, surrounded by broken ceramic and the pieces of my shattered marriage. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd been planning to systematically destroy my life and take everything I'd worked for. My graphic design business that I'd built from nothing. The house I'd saved for. The life I'd thought we were building together. The front door slammed, and I heard Michael's voice calling out, "Babe, I'm back. Coffee ready?" His jogging shoes squeaked against the hardwood floors as he approached the kitchen. I quickly wiped my eyes and shoved his phone back onto the counter, my mind racing. "Sarah? What happened here?" He gestured to the broken mug, his face a mask of concern that now looked absolutely grotesque to me. "Just clumsy," I managed, forcing a smile that felt like swallowing glass. "You know me." He kissed my forehead, and I had to suppress the urge to recoil. "My sweet, clumsy wife," he murmured, and I heard the condescension in his voice that I'd somehow missed before. "What would you do without me?" As he headed upstairs to shower, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Emma. This time, I memorized every word. "Michael, I found the perfect lawyer. She specializes in hidden assets. Sarah will never see it coming." That's when I realized this wasn't just about an affair. This was about financial fraud, planned deception, and 2 people I'd trusted most in the world conspiring to rob me blind. But here's the thing they didn't know about me. I wasn't the naive, trusting woman they thought I was. I was a woman who'd built a successful business from scratch, who'd survived a childhood with manipulative parents, who'd learned to document everything for tax purposes. I spent the next hour screenshotting every message, every photo, every piece of evidence I could find. I created a secure folder on my laptop and uploaded everything to a cloud drive they'd never think to look for. While Michael sang in the shower, probably thinking about his next rendezvous with my best friend, I was building a case that would expose exactly who they really were, The doorbell rang, and my heart nearly stopped. Through the peephole, I saw Emma standing on our porch with coffee and pastries from our favorite bakery, wearing the same sympathetic smile she'd been using to lie to my face for months. "Sarah!" she exclaimed when I opened the door, pulling me into a hug that now felt like being embraced by a snake. "I brought your favorite blueberry scones. I could tell you were stressed yesterday, and I wanted to check on you." I let her into my home, watched her sit at my kitchen table, accepted her fake comfort and manufactured concern, all while knowing exactly what she'd been doing behind my back. She asked about Michael, suggested we needed a girls' night out, even had the audacity to comment on how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband. Every word was poison wrapped in friendship, and I smiled through all of it. But here's what Emma and Michael didn't realize. While they thought they were playing chess, I was about to show them what it meant to play against someone who'd already seen all their moves. What would you do if you discovered your spouse and best friend had been planning to destroy your life? Would you confront them immediately, or would you gather evidence first? Because what I discovered next would change everything, and the revenge I was planning would expose more than just their affair. It would reveal a pattern of entitled manipulation that went deeper than I ever imagined. The next few weeks turned me into someone I barely recognized, a detective in my own life, uncovering lies I'd been living with for years. I started with Michael's laptop. While he thought I was working late in my home office, I was actually learning everything about digital forensics from YouTube tutorials. Amazing what you can discover when your entire world depends on it. His browser history was a treasure trove of hotel bookings, jewelry purchases I'd never seen, and dating apps he'd been using even before he met Emma. But the real bombshell came when I found his hidden folder labeled Business Expenses, which contained screenshots of our joint bank account, our investment portfolio, and detailed plans for hiding assets. They weren't just planning to divorce me, they were planning to make sure I got nothing. I discovered Michael had been slowly transferring money from our joint savings into accounts I didn't know existed. $20,000. Over the past 6 months, moved in small amounts so I wouldn't notice. He'd been preparing for this divorce long before Emma came into the picture. My hands were trembling as I photographed every document, every transaction, every piece of evidence. The man I'd shared a bed with for 4 years had been systematically robbing me while I slept beside him. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Emma's apartment while she was at her job. I still had her spare key from when I'd pet sat her cat last summer. What I found there made my blood run cold. Her bedroom wall had photos of Michael dating back 8 months, long before I thought their affair had started. But worse than that, I found a journal where she'd written out their entire plan in detail. She called it Project Freedom, and reading it was like staring into the mind of someone who'd never seen me as a friend at all. "Sarah is so predictable," one entry read. "She trusts everyone completely. It's actually sad how easy this is going to be. Michael says she'll probably just sign whatever papers we put in front of her. She's never been good with confrontation." Another entry from 2 weeks ago. "Found the perfect house for Michael and me. Sarah's graphic design business is worth more than she realizes. The client contracts alone should set us up nicely once we liquidate everything." They'd been planning to take my business, the business I'd built from nothing, working 18-hour days, surviving on coffee and determination. They wanted to liquidate my clients, my reputation, everything I'd worked for. I photographed every page, my anger growing with each word. But the final entry nearly broke me. "Sometimes I feel bad about Sarah. She really does love Michael and she's been such a good friend to me. But some people are just meant to be stepped on. She'll get over it eventually. She's stronger than she thinks." How generous of her to think I'd survive their betrayal. I drove to Michael's office next. As a financial advisor, he had access to sophisticated accounting software and investment tools. His secretary, Mrs. Peterson, had always liked me, and she was happy to chat while Michael was in meetings. "Oh, Sarah, you just missed him," she said, organizing papers on her desk. "He's been so stressed lately, working late every night on some big client portfolio restructuring." "Really? He hasn't mentioned any big projects at home," I said, keeping my voice casual. Mrs. Peterson looked confused. "Strange. He said it was for a client named Sarah Mitchell." I assumed. She trailed off, her face paling as she realized what she'd just revealed. My own husband had been listing me as a client, using my name to justify all his suspicious financial activities. He'd been hiding his theft behind professional discretion, making it look like legitimate business while he robbed me blind. That evening, I made dinner like nothing had happened. Michael came home with flowers, guilt flowers I now realized, and Emma texted asking if I wanted to grab lunch tomorrow. The normalcy of it all was suffocating. "You seem different." "Lately," Michael said over dinner, studying my face with fake concern. "Are you feeling okay? You've been working so much." "Just tired," I replied, cutting my steak with deliberate precision. "But I've been thinking about our future a lot lately." "Oh yeah? What about it?" His voice had that careful tone people use when they're fishing for information. "I think it's time we made some big changes," I said, meeting his eyes directly. "I've been doing a lot of research on investment opportunities, business expansion. I think we could be partners in more than just marriage." The panic that flickered across his face was so brief I almost missed it. But I caught it, and I knew. He was wondering how much I'd discovered. "That sounds great, babe," he said. But his smile looked like it was carved from plastic. "We should definitely talk about that soon." After he went to bed, I stayed up until 3 a.m. organizing everything I'd collected. Financial records, screenshots, photographs, bank statements, hotel receipts I'd found in his car. I created a timeline, showing exactly when their affair had started, when the financial theft had begun, and how they'd planned to execute their betrayal. But I wasn't done. I needed more than evidence. I needed witnesses. The next day, I made copies of everything and mailed them to 3 different locations: my lawyer's office, my brother's house, and a safety deposit box I'd opened under my maiden name. If something happened to me, if they realized what I knew, the truth would still come out. I also started recording conversations. Every time Emma called to check on me, every time Michael made comments about our finances, every time either of them said something that revealed their true feelings about me, my phone became a weapon, collecting ammunition for the war I was about to wage. The hardest part wasn't gathering evidence. It was pretending to be the same trusting, naive woman they thought they were manipulating. Hugging Emma when she brought me coffee, kissing Michael goodnight, laughing at their jokes while they planned my destruction. But their biggest mistake was underestimating me. They saw a woman who'd never fought back, who'd always chosen peace over confrontation, who'd rather be hurt than hurt others. They had no idea they were about to meet the real Sarah Mitchell. Have you ever had to pretend everything was normal while planning to expose someone's lies? How far would you go to protect everything you'd worked for? Because tomorrow was Emma's birthday party, an event I'd been helping plan for months, and I'd just decided it was the perfect opportunity to give everyone a gift they'd never forget. Emma's birthday party was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became the night I served justice as the main course. The party was at Michael's suggestion. Our house, with its open floor plan and expensive sound system, was perfect for entertaining, he'd said. Looking back, I realize he probably wanted to show off what would soon be his and Emma's home. How thoughtful of him to provide the venue for his own downfall. 50 people showed up. Emma's family, our college friends, neighbors, and Michael's colleagues. Everyone who'd known us as the perfect couple and seen Emma as my best friend was there to witness what came next. I'd spent the morning preparing everything carefully. Not just the catering and decorations, but the evidence presentation I'd been planning for weeks. While everyone thought I was arranging flowers, I was actually setting up a laptop connected to our large-screen TV, loaded with everything I'd discovered. Emma arrived wearing a stunning red dress, the same dress she'd worn in one of the hotel photos I'd found on Michael's phone. The irony was perfect. "Sarah, this party is incredible," she gushed, hugging me tight. "You're such an amazing friend. I don't deserve you." For the first time in weeks, she was telling the truth. Michael worked the room like the charming host he'd always been, one arm around my waist, playing the devoted husband perfectly. I watched him laugh with his colleagues, the same people who'd been helping him hide assets from me. I watched Emma pose for pictures with friends who had no idea she'd been systematically betraying their trust in her friendship with me. At 8 p.m., I called for everyone's attention. "Before we sing Happy Birthday," I announced, "I have a special presentation for Emma, something that really captures who she is." Emma's face lit up with anticipation. Michael squeezed my hand, probably proud of his thoughtful wife for organizing. Such a nice surprise. I dimmed the lights and pressed play. The first slide was a photo of Emma and me from college, young, happy, genuinely friends. "Emma and I have been friends for 8 years, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "We've shared everything, our dreams, our fears, our secrets." The next slide showed text messages, Emma's words about how easy it was to manipulate me, how predictable I was, how I'd never figure it out. You could hear a pin drop in that room. "We've shared our deepest feelings," I continued as more screenshots appeared, showing her detailed descriptions of sleeping with my husband, their hotel rendezvous, their jokes about my naivety. Emma's face had gone white as paper. "Sarah, what is this?" she whispered, but her voice carried in the silent room. "This is your birthday present, Emma," I said calmly. "The truth." I clicked to the next section, Michael's financial records, bank transfers, hidden accounts, the money he'd stolen from our joint savings. His colleagues' faces were horrified as they recognized account numbers and transaction codes from his professional software. "And Michael," I turned to my husband, whose charming smile had completely disappeared. "Here's your gift too. Everyone here now knows exactly who you really are." The final slides showed their Project Freedom journal entries, their plans to liquidate my business, their timeline for the divorce, and every detail of how they'd planned to destroy my life while pretending to love me. Emma was crying now, mascara streaming down her cheeks, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of humiliation at being caught. "Sarah, you don't understand," Michael started, stepping toward me with his hands raised like he was approaching a dangerous animal. "I understand perfectly," I cut him off. "I understand that you've been stealing from me for months. I understand that you've been planning to take my business, my home, everything I've worked for. I understand that both of you saw me as someone weak enough to victimize without consequences." The room was deadly quiet except for Emma's sobbing and the sound of several people recording everything on their phones. Social media was about to be very interesting for both of them. "You made one crucial mistake," I continued, addressing both of them but speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. "You assumed I'd stay silent. You assumed I'd let you destroy me quietly. You assumed wrong." I pulled out a manila envelope I'd prepared. "These are divorce papers, Michael. You're getting exactly what you planned, a divorce. But you're not getting half of anything. Thanks to your documented financial fraud, you're actually getting sued. For theft, for breach of fiduciary duty, and for conspiracy to commit fraud." I turned to Emma, who was now backed against the wall like a trapped animal. "And Emma, since you seemed so interested in my business contracts, you'll be interested to know I've sent evidence of your involvement to every client, every colleague, and every professional reference you've ever had. Your reputation in this town is finished." Michael's boss, who'd been standing near the kitchen, stepped forward. "Michael, we need to talk. Tomorrow. First thing." Emma's sister was staring at her with disgust. "Em, how could you do this? To Sarah? To anyone?" The party ended quickly after that. People filed out in stunned silence, some stopping to squeeze my shoulder supportively, others just shaking their heads in disbelief. Within an hour, my house was empty except for me, Michael, and Emma. "Sarah, we can work this out," Michael pleaded, all his arrogance gone. "We made mistakes, but the only mistake here was mine," I interrupted. "I trusted people who were never worthy of it. But that mistake ends tonight." They both left that evening. Emma to her apartment that she'd soon lose when her job disappeared, Michael to a hotel that he'd be paying for with money from his rapidly emptying bank account. 3 months later, I finalized my divorce with a settlement that gave me everything: the house, the business, and enough in damages to expand my company beyond anything I'd previously imagined. Michael's financial advisor license was revoked, and he moved back in with his parents in Ohio. Emma had to leave town entirely after losing her job and finding herself unemployable in Denver. The most satisfying part wasn't their downfall. It was my rise. Without their manipulation and energy drain, my business flourished. I hired 3 new employees, landed my biggest client ever, and bought a beautiful downtown loft that was entirely, completely mine. Last week, I got a message from Emma's new phone number. "Sarah, I'm sorry. We never meant for things to go this far. Can we talk?" I deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late, and some betrayals are too complete to forgive. But here's what I learned from all of this. When people show you who they really are, believe them the first time. When someone thinks you're too weak to fight back, prove them wrong. And when life forces you to choose between being kind and being respected, choose respect. Kindness is wasted on people who see it as weakness. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I used to believe that trust was the foundation of any good marriage. Now I know that self-respect is the foundation of any good life. Have you ever had to choose between keeping peace and demanding justice? What would you do if the people closest to you saw your kindness as an opportunity to exploit you? Because the truth is, sometimes the people who claim to love you are actually the ones planning your destruction. But that doesn't mean you have to let them succeed.